Akalwa Akarja, and welcome to my channel, The Serpentine Herald, where I will aim to explore the real-world inspirations behind some of our favourite video games, and this will often be filtered through the language, folklore, and stories that I myself grew up with. We all know From Software likes to use Celtic names in their games. In Dark Souls 1 alone, we have Gwyn, Gwyndolin, Guinevere, and Lloyd, which are all Welsh names. In Dark Souls 1, Gwyn's named children are Guinevere and Gwyndolin. The Nameless King was stricken from history, quite shamelessly so. Then in Dark Souls 3, in comes Filianore. Now, at first, this might not seem like a good fit for the other names, right? Well, Filianore actually just means daughter of sunlight or daughter of Gwyn in Latin. I believe it's more of a title. You can also see Anor, like Anor Londo, in her name, which could be interpreted as loved by the sun. Let's translate the word Filianore directly into Welsh. You'd get something like Gwyneth. Gwyneth and its older form Gwyned is a common Welsh name. Like any Welsh name with the Gwyn prefix, it has the meaning of pure and blessed. But Gwyned also originates from the kingdom of Gwyned and can refer to the land or the Celtic tribe that lived in this kingdom. That is why sometimes on etymology websites you see Gwyned translated as a band of warriors. So, Gwynedd here could mean from the land of Gwyn, or be a reference to the pygmy band of warriors that she was a gift to. Now, this leads us to the Nameless King, the man of the hour himself, one of the most popular enduring mysteries in the Souls series. Recently, user Pointless Productions shared that our Nameless King may be nameless no more and have been recently name-dropped, super casually in Night Rain. Just casually slipped on in there. A war god called Grian is mentioned. Now, while this might refer to some completely unrelated god, here's why I think the claim that this could be talking about the Nameless King has some legs. At first glance, it looks like a localization maybe to differentiate this name from Gwyn, but linguistically, it's an anglicized version of Grian, the Irish word for sun. In their Proto-Indo-European roots, both Gwyn and Grian stem from the same origin point. So the Nameless King would be essentially Gwyn Jr., but also literally the embodiment of the sun, which makes perfect sense when you remember the Warriors of Sunlight are devoted to him. In Irish, the Warriors of Sunlight would be called Ridri na Grania, the Warriors of Sunlight, or Grian's Knights. Their motto, Praise the Sun, would be Mulla don Grian, praise to the sun or praise be to Grian. A lot of people thought the Nameless King was called Faraam back in Dark Souls 2, and I have an answer for this part too. So recently, as in since my last video, it had been pointed out to me that Faraam from Dark Souls 2, katakana Faramu, is generally translated as Farnham, which is a last name in the real world. So this really interested me because Farnham is an Irish word. I bet you're all bored of me saying this, but I recognized it because it comes from a place name I was familiar with, which is Rathfarnham in Dublin. So Farnham is the Irish for alder tree, which is a type of birch. It is a fully white tree, and it is famed for having a very bright red sap. So the alder tree has a long, very long history of being considered magical or holy. Before the Roman alphabet was even brought to Ireland, directional signs were written on stones using a language called Ogham, and a lot of these Ogham stones can still be seen today. The alder tree corresponds to the Ogham letter Fjarn, and that is associated with fire, protection, and the Otherworld. The Otherworld was where the Tuatha De Danann lived, the descendants of the main goddess Danu, kind of like the Anor Londo of our folklore, if you will. Alderwood was mainly said to protect warriors. It was used to make shields in various countries and act as a protection for them on the battlefield. In ancient times, it was associated with warriors because cutting an alder was seen to be equivalent or a metaphor for wounding a warrior because the sap looked so much like blood. All this suggests that Faraam, or Farnham's name, is linked to that tree because he is a god of war. If we translate Farnham or alder into Welsh, you get Gwyn. And of course, the Gwr comes from the same root as Gwyn and is referencing the whiteness of the alder tree. This may very well have been the Nameless King's original name in Anor Londo. The Farasans could call him Farnham in their local language, or someone wrote it that way in the scraps of text you find around Drangleic, which in some places has a heavy basis in Ireland in a more noticeable way than the other games. And that's kind of hammered home by the fact that the Emerald Herald is a central figure, and she really heavily resembles a patron saint or goddess of Ireland, Breed or Brigid, who I'm going to do a whole video about, so don't worry, I will explain. The branch of yore is also likely based on the ancient practices to do with alder and birch wood. These white woods would be burned in ceremonies and rituals in Celtic and Slavic cultures to ward off evil spirits. And just a quick aside note, since some people seemed a bit confused in my last video, when I say something is based on, I don't mean that the two are literally the same, but I mean that one inspired the other, or was partially inspiring the other one. So when I say the forgotten branch of yore is likely based on alder and its uses in ceremonies and rituals, I mean that its design and function likely took alder as an inspiration. Potentially in-universe, the trees these come from have different names. Maybe it was based on a tree in another fantasy setting, maybe a book, another video game, anything like that. But the through line to the real world is alder and birch. Thematically, it has the same function that those woods had in the ancient world. So when I discovered the link to the alder tree, one of my first thoughts was Aldia from Dark Souls 2. A lot of people say his form looks kind of like a weird tree thing. Could he be related to this root as well, the alder tree? Dark Souls 2's localization is very loosey-goosey compared to some of the others, so I wasn't banking on it, and sure enough, Aldia's name is more like Andiru, which would be translated more as like Andiel or Andiel. Google Translate took the approach of the name Anne Deal, which makes him sound like a local mattress saleswoman, but I don't think that was necessarily the root. So Aldia, not related to the alder tree, sadly. So basically what this means is that the naming structure could be Gwyn, Gwyrnan, or Farnham in Drangleic or Ferosa, Guinevere, and I will get into what I think her name in different countries might be in my next video. Then we come to Filianore, who I think her Welsh name likely would be Gwyneth, as spoken about before. Then we come to Gwyndolin, and you can see then that Gwyn has been integrated into all their names. So Farnham works for me as a independent war god, or as somebody linked to Gwyn, and Grian also works in the same way. Personally, I would lean more towards Grian because of the Knights of Sunlight and everything like that, but it's entirely up for grabs, it's up for interpretation. The series is set up so that we should find our own answers, and they want us to speculate and things, and it could be that both of these names are used to refer to the Nameless King, potentially. I want to bring these things to the table so that people can have fun with it and use these in their own headcanons for whatever they want to do. I'm not really giving a definitive answer one way or another. So thank you very much for watching. Mulla Dungrian, and as always,
myself and King as Together we will devour the very